In the first week of October, I attended the 6th Biennial Conference held by the Western Cast Iron Art Alliance. It was hosted by 6 Mile Sculpture Works and Alfresco Productions in Granite City, Illinois. In the cast iron art community, we usually just refer to this conference as the Western or the Western Conference. As I mentioned before, it's biennial, so it rotates locations around the western portion of the United States between the areas where the different board members live. The event itself went from Wednesday through Sunday. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend the daytime activities on Wednesday and Thursday. These 2 days kicked off the conference with workshops, panels, and conference attendees were able to go on a tour inside the Amstead Foundry. I was actually able to take a foundry tour a few years ago of the Amstead Foundry, and it was absolutely incredible. As an iron casting artist, I don't get to see casting on such a large and industrial scale, and it's really humbling to witness the large-scale production that the Amstead Foundry does, and to be reminded that this process that I love so much is used for many other reasons besides creating artwork. So the workshops offered at this conference were sand mold workshop, obviously, ceramic shell workshop, and a reaction mold workshop, as well as a tiny iron workshop. The tiny iron is a fairly specific and new technique in the cast iron art world, which involves using a centrifuge machine similar to jewelry casting. And the results are so small and unbelievably detailed.
Also, Gabe Akagawa was at the conference photographing attendees in their leathers. His project Foundry Tree is an iron casting artist database that documents the lineages of contemporary artists working with the process of casting iron. Each participant's connections to teachers, mentors, peers, and students are recorded for posterity and for promoting growth of knowledge and social spheres. I will include a link to the Foundry Tree website in the description box below. The site includes artists' photos and tons of other information. One really amazing resource is the list of upcoming iron pour dates and locations.
Thursday afternoon, there was a panel discussion titled Art and Industry Speed Dating. I really regret missing it because it excited a lot of people. I heard so many people talking about it for the rest of the conference. I think that the Amstead tour and the Art and Industry panel facilitated conference attendees to contemplate the connection cast iron art has with industrial iron casting. Wednesday evening, which I did attend, consisted of an opening welcome ceremony and a presentation called I Am For an Art. The presentation was made up of short talks and slideshows by different presenters, either about their own work, their experiences, or iron art theory. At the end, it was opened up to the audience and anybody could go up and say a few words about their take on the theme, I Am For an Art. It was a great intro to the conference, but also a really effective icebreaker and fostered a group dynamic. Each time a new person would go up on stage, there would be a ton of cheering, and it really demonstrated that the conference was a safe space to make connections and literally to be heard. Thursday night was the Keynote Speakers presentation. The conference's keynotes were Jen Townsend and Renee Zettle-Sterling, who are co-authors of the book Cast: Art and Objects Made Using Humanity's Most Transformative Process. They published this book in 2017 and gave an informative and inspiring talk about that process. They also shared their personal background and their bodies of work and thoughts about material, technique, and the theory of casting process. After the keynote speech, they had a meet and greet book signing. Jen and Renee were just so friendly and attentive and open. I was in the room getting footage of the signing, and the line was out the door. It seemed like almost everyone at the conference bought the book there or had the book, or it was being shipped to them, or they got it off Amazon, or they had it at home and they forgot it. Everybody was just really excited about the book and about meeting them and hearing what they had to say and connecting to them, and I really feel like that's what they did during the book signing, is they connected with us in our community. In conjunction with the book signing, there was an opening reception for the Western Cast Iron Art Alliance board member exhibition, which also featured works by Jen and Renee. So we got to see their works, which use small metal cast elements in jewelry format. In conjunction with the works by the members of the board, it was just inspiring and prolific. The book Cast offers a wealth of knowledge about a multitude of casting techniques, as well as beautiful photographs. Obviously, information about iron casting is included in the book, but the cast iron art movement is still young and relatively grassroots based in comparison with other casting traditions. As a member of the iron casting art community, I feel like it was an honor to have them as keynote speakers for a conference held by our community. And I'm sure that they got an insider's glimpse at how innovative, passionate, and wild my community can be at its core. Friday was a big day. There was an extensive career development and support panel. This presentation covered so many topics that artists of all ages and stages need information about. It included people offering guidance that ranged from art residency programs to galleries to graduate school programs, self-employment, public art, and civic engagement. Friday evening, there was 3 more exhibition openings. They consisted of a professional exhibition, a student exhibition, and a pop-up exhibition. I applied to the professional exhibition, which was juried by Marianne Lowry. I'm honored to say that my piece, Ab Roller, was accepted, so it was an exciting event for me to be in an exhibition alongside my peers and mentors. The gallery venues were all close, within walking distance of each other, so it was very possible to see all of the exhibitions in a reasonable amount of time. In the mainstream part of the art world that I'm exposed to every day, I seldomly see works that include cast iron elements, so it's very inspiring for me to see this much contemporary cast iron art in one place. Also on Friday night, as soon as the sun went down, the performance core began. In the cast iron art world, there are some artists who focus on making objects, but there are other artists whose artistic practice utilizes the spectacle of iron casting. The viewer's experience of witnessing these performances is what validates the artists and their work. So I'll admit that there's some great photos produced to document the events, but it's nothing at all like being there and experiencing it in person. This was a time when the molds made during the reaction mold workshop were poured and reacted out of. And this is David Lobdell with his piece Solar Mandala. As a part of the performance of this work, he invites attendees to insert personal messages into the sculpture. final performance of the performance pour was by Finn Edwards. He told me a little bit about himself and his performance.
My name is Finn John Edwards. I graduated from CU Denver sculpture program with Rian Karan. I was introduced to iron and it has changed my life. The first time I ever saw molten metal, I could never turn back. At first I would cast traditional sculpture, and then one day I saw reaction mold. This fit me because I really wanted to deal with something that was more temporary, like life itself. So a lot of the Finn wheel is the art of letting go. It's you put a lot of time and money into something, but then you burn it down, and it's almost like letting go of negative emotions. I put a lot of negative energy into it, and then when I get to perform, it's such a positive thing that I'm able to let go, and that's a big thing with my performance cast iron art. I still do traditional art, but I think it's important to expose cast iron to the public. You know, and I've always loved fire. When I was a kid, they told us, don't play with fire, that's bad. But there's constructive ways of using fire and heat in order to create things.
Friday night, the evening wound down in a flaming sculpture walk that was made up of large steel sculptures lined with a high temperature insulation called K-wool, and they were fueled by propane. While Friday was definitely the party night, Saturday was the day of business. And this is because Saturday is when the production pour happened. All the molds that were made during the workshops, as well as the molds that the participants brought, got organized, lined up, and poured. There were 2 furnaces running to produce all of the molten iron needed. One was built and run by Rick Hogan and Jordan Eaton of Bronze Age Iron Casting from South Dakota.
So this is Tipsy. It's our couplet hybrid. It's a 16-inch inside hammer. It has 6 tweers that are slightly stacked. And we made it this year. Rick's the owner of Bronze Age Art Casting, and I worked for him. And then now we're starting up Nordic Iron to do our cast iron parts. We ran it, it's our 4th time running it this year since I made it in July, June, something like that, June. So, yeah, I don't know, it's working pretty good.
How much did you tap out?
We tap out 100 to 150. Tonight we're gonna just run it at 150 to keep it nice and easy and hopefully fast.
And where are you guys from? Where did you come from?
Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So, yeah, so we're having another, we try to hit the solstice and then the equinoxes and have pours on those. So our next pour is going to be on the summer solstice this coming year. So, yeah. So we have our sacrifice cups to the furnace gods for Tipsy. So we put beer in them. We usually have sage burning, but I forgot some this time.
The other one was a home team furnace built and run by the iron casting power couple Allison Olette Kirby and Noah Kirby, who are both Western Cast Iron Art Alliance board members. I didn't get a chance to interview them because they were obviously busy hosting the conference. During the production pour, the Tiny Iron Workshop was also continuing to cast their pieces, and the conference ended with a family-style closing dinner Saturday night that included an attendee-focused photo slideshow. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you at the next pour.
Hi.